CAO processes applications for undergraduate courses in Irish higher education institutions. So we process your application, we issue the offers and we record the acceptances, but all decisions are made by the individual institutions. So it's the universities and the institutes of technology and colleges of education that you're applying for who make the decision on offers. The application process. So, two very important things. The CAO handbook, which has been sent out to your schools. Some of your guidance counsellors might have had an opportunity to pass them out. The front white pages are the instructions, and the yellow pages contain all of the courses that you can apply for by the CAO this year. There are also some additional courses that are added in after the handbook has gone to print, and you'll find those on the CAO website if you check it regularly. Just there might be an extra couple of courses per institution added on. The application form then is the next bit. But before you get to the application form, which you can't fill out until the 4th of November, you need to start doing your research. And you've all been researching here today, I'm sure, by visiting all the various stands, and as well as lollipops and sunglasses. I'm sure you picked up a couple of prospectuses along the way. Make sure to take the time to read the prospectuses carefully. Keep an eye on a couple of things, and the one that I always tell everybody to have look out for when they're considering the various courses, check that you meet the minimum entry requirements for a course. Can't stress this enough. If you don't meet the minimum entry requirements for a course, regardless of what your points are actually 0 for that course if you don't meet the requirements. So please do check that before listing a course down on your application. Deadlines. We love deadlines at the CAO, and they're not Irish deadlines, they're actually real deadlines. They're strict, and there's no room for movement around those deadlines. So if you miss a deadline, that's unfortunate, and there's nothing really that can be done. I'll go through a few of them. They're all in the handbook and the early pages. You'll see a timetable of events and dates. But the first one is the 4th of November, but that's not a deadline, that's an opening date actually, and that's when we open the CAO application process, and that's when everybody here in this room is going to go online and get your application out of the way. I'm really confident you'll all be very eager to apply. The 20th of January is the early application closing date, and this just means that you get your application for €25 as opposed to €40. So why would you wait until the 1st of February when you have to give us €40? Get your application in good and early. 1st of February is the normal closing date, again at 5:15 p.m. You're going to hear me say 5:15 p.m. a lot because all of our deadlines are at 5:15 p.m. Not midnight like a lot of people might think. When you see a deadline day, normally you think, oh right, well that must be midnight tonight. Everything is 5:15 p.m. 1st of March, there are a couple of deadlines on the 1st of March, again at 5:15. The first is if you're applying for HERE or DARE or both, you need to have completed the HERE and DARE forms online by the 1st of March. If you've forgotten, and I'll talk about restricted courses more in a minute, but if you've forgotten to introduce a restricted course to your account before the 1st of February, you have an opportunity up to the 1st of March for a fee of €10 to introduce a restricted course. 1st of April at 5:15 p.m, surprisingly, is the deadline for sending in your supporting documents to CAO for HERE or DARE schemes. Really, really strict deadlines there, guys. 1st of May is the late application deadline, but none of you in this room are going to need to use the late application deadline because you're all going to apply good and early. You're going to have applied by the 20th of January. Waiting for the late application deadline? 2 reasons why I advise not to do it. It's more expensive, it's €50, and you may encounter restrictions, so don't try to avoid that one at all costs. Change of Mind facility opens on the 5th of May and it closes on the 1st of July at 5:15 p.m, and I'll talk more about that in a little while. And they're basically the key dates. 21st of August also obviously is a very important date. That's the date of the round 1 offers. So we'll go through the application form. How do you apply? So on the 4th of November at noon, you're all going to sit at your computers, you're going to go to cao.ie and you're going to click on Apply. this part of the process, you might be thinking, sure, I'll never know in November what I want to do. But you don't need to know to get the first part of the application process out of the way. You don't need to have decided on all of your courses at that stage. The first part is, it's an application form, so it's looking for information that you already have. Your name, your date of birth. Believe me, lots of people put their date of birth in wrong. I'm not sure what it is. Put the current day's date in, or perhaps a parent might be filling out the application form for you and they put their own date of birth in. It's a really common mistake, and it will cause you some problems. Obviously down the line you'll have to fix it, but you'll also be locked out of your account. If you're trying to log into your account, you need your application number, you need the password that you created, and you also need your date of birth. So if you're entering all that information and you keep putting in your date of birth, going, why can't I log in? It may be because it was wrong on your application form. So just be careful about that. Contact information for you, your email address. I don't know how many of you actually even bother checking email addresses. I'm guessing you just have accounts so that you can sign up for free stuff all the time and you don't check them. But this year you'll have to get into the habit of checking your email, because we do write to you by email all throughout the year. They may look like emails that you can just discard. It might look like something, just a computer-generated email, but no, don't. Just make sure you read through them, and it might contain information that will help you with your application. Your telephone number, and there's a box to tick if you want a text message to let you know if you've received an offer. And then after that, you simply tick a box to let us know what qualifications and assessments you have. So I'm looking at the room and you all look like you're probably first-time Leaving Certificate applicants. Apologies for any matures in the room, and obviously it's a compliment because you all obviously look like first-time Leaving Certificates too. So you just tick that box, enter your payment details, and you create a password. Click on Proceed with Application, and all going well, your application number will appear on the screen. So that's all. Really straightforward, and that's something you can get out of the way in November. Your application number is something you need to keep safe. You're going to need it every time you communicate with CAO throughout the year. If you're going to be away at any interval around a deadline or any important period in the year, you may want to give someone else access to your application number so that they can act on your behalf. But similarly, if somebody has your application number, then we take it that they have permission to act on your behalf. So if you don't want somebody acting on your behalf, then keep that number safe, okay? So whenever you're emailing CAO, quote the application number. We have a fairly sophisticated communication system, and we'll have everything recorded. Any email you send to us will be recorded on your account, so you'll have a nice paper trail there. I skipped ahead a little bit quick, but just to let you know, you can add courses up to the 31st of January, free of charge, okay? So you can start your application, then you can go away for a couple of days, a couple of weeks even, come back, start adding in courses, leave it again, go back in, add new courses, remove them, change the order, and so on, up to the 31st of January, free of charge. So you see, you have plenty of opportunities. It is an ongoing process, and you'll be regularly logging into your account. And so when you do log back into your account, it is important, and try to do this before the 1st of February, to let us know more about your qualifications and assessments. So the majority of you guys have ticked current year that you're Leaving Certificate candidates on the application form, so you just need to give us a small bit of extra information. We need your school name and address, so you'll go into the section Qualifications and Assessments, and you'll be asked for your school name and address, the years attended, and if you're a current year Leaving Certificate, you tick that box. And that's basically everything from you. If you're presenting previous year's Leaving Certificate, so if you have any repeat applicants in the room or any matures or anything like that, you can also give us your year that you sat the Leaving Certificate and your examination number from that year. And that's all fairly straightforward. Then we get to the trickier part, the part you have to put a little bit more thought into, and that's choosing your courses. So you've done your research, you're doing your research today, you'll be doing your research between now and Christmas and over the Christmas break. There are two sets of courses. Some of you may be familiar, some may not. You have a level 8 list and you have a level 7-6 list. Your level 8 list are your honours degree programs, and your level 7-6 would be your ordinary degrees or your higher certificates and diplomas, okay? And you'll have, I'll talk more about that in a moment, but you'll have 10 choices on both lists. When you're choosing your courses, consult with your guidance counsellor first, of course. Very important to have a chat with them about the areas you're interested in and the institutions you're thinking about applying for. Talk to friends and family. It's a very important decision. You may have to factor in cost of staying away and lots of different elements, so have a chat to family. If you're lucky enough to know somebody studying in one of the institutions that you want to apply for, have a good chat to them. They'll be able to give you the inside scoop on the institution, even more information than you'll find in your prospectus. If you're even luckier, you'll know somebody studying one of the courses that you want to apply for. They'll be able to tell you more about the content of the course and so on. So make sure to ask plenty of questions. Don't be afraid to email the institutions or contact the admissions offices if you have any questions as well, okay? So back to these lists again. The level 8 list and the level 7-6 list. 10 choices on both lists. Doesn't cost you anything extra to put 10 down, so why don't you give yourself as many options at the offer stage. Put down as many course choices as you can on your application on both lists. The only time you have to choose between these lists is if you receive an offer of both at the offer stage. So that's a pretty good situation to be in, and when round 1 offers come around, if you have an offer of both lists to consider. But when you are putting your courses down, your 10 choices on both lists, please, if you only remember one thing from today's presentation, it is this: please place your courses in genuine order of preference. Every year we have very distressed calls from applicants with queries like, oh, I got my 3rd preference course, but I really prefer my 4th. What can I do? And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. If you preferred your 4th preference course, your 4th preference should have been higher on your list of preferences. It should have been above that 3rd preference course. So please, just sit down and think, what's my dream course? And put that down in the first place. What's my 2nd favourite course? Put it down in 2nd, and so on. Don't look at courses based on points. It's going to confuse you. Points change every year. You don't know what your results are going to be when you're filling out your course choices. So simply sit down, place them in genuine order of preference, and you'll get an offer of the course highest up on the list that you are deemed eligible for. We'll look at an example in a bit and might explain it a bit clearer. Restrictions. We have a few. I mentioned the restricted courses briefly, but they're in the handbook as restricted, see page 3. These courses you have to have applied for by the 1st of February. My advice to you would be, if you're unsure about a restricted course, put it down on your list. You can always remove it at a later date, but you cannot introduce it after the 1st of February. So if in doubt, stick that down. A restricted course is a course that... Oh, we've got some livestock here. Restricted course is a course that requires an additional assessment. It may mean that you have to attend for an interview, or you might have to submit a portfolio, or any number of, there might be another assessment. So they all take place during spring, and that's why you have to have applied by the 1st of February at 5:15, obviously. Restricted categories applicants, mature applicants must have applied by the 1st of February. And if you're applying for here or there, and I'm not sure if I already gave you the email address or the website address, but for both of those schemes, go to accesscollege.ie for more information. The change of mind form. So this is something to give you a bit of peace of mind when you start entering all of your courses on your list. For the majority of you, straightforward leaving certificate applicants, unless you want to apply for a restricted course, you can use the change of mind facility from the 5th of May to the 1st of July at 5:15 p.m. as many times as you like. And over 45,000 applicants used the change of mind facility last year. So don't worry, you wouldn't be alone in not knowing what your final course choices are at that stage. 45,000 other people didn't know last year either, and they used this facility. So they might have decided, oh, you know what, I really prefer this other course, I'm going to put it above my second preference, and now it's my first. Or you might find a new course or a new area of study that you're interested in, and you can add it in. So you'll use this facility, I'm fairly confident you will. Slightly unfortunate timing, but it's the only time that we can send it out to you. At the end of May, when you're right in the middle of studying for your Leaving Certificate examinations, we send out an important piece of correspondence to you by post. Please keep an eye out for it. I mean, your majority of you here in this room are hoping to go on to third level, and you're studying with that goal in mind, but this document is important to check so that nothing comes between you and achieving that goal. So take 10 or 15 minutes just to read it really carefully. Things to look out for on that statement: is the examination number correct? So have we got the correct exam number on file for you? Don't just assume that it's correct, okay? So it may not be, and you need to check that. Are all of your courses shown? Are the codes correct, and are they all in the correct order? If anybody has an exemption, so maybe an Irish exemption, make sure that's listed on the statement. Because if we don't know about all of these things, or if anything's incorrect, that could prevent you from receiving an offer. So just give that 10-15 minutes to read through it. If you do notice anything that's incorrect or missing off that document, write it on the front of the statement, take a photocopy, post it back to CAO, and keep a certificate of posting. Certificate of posting is free, so you just get that from the post office. So do that, and don't forget to get it back to us as quickly as you can. Okay, the offer process, how does it all work? The week following the release of the Leaving Certificate results, we post communication to all applicants. So for applicants who haven't been deemed eligible for an offer in round one, you receive another statement of application record. So that document I was just talking to you about that comes out in May, if you haven't been deemed eligible for an offer, you receive another one of these. You must check it carefully, make sure your exam results are correct, make sure that there isn't anything on that document that might have prevented you from receiving an offer. If you do notice something in that document, get straight back on to CAO. You can email us or you can write to us. I'd advise emailing, and we can rectify it and fix it all for round two, okay? And if you have been deemed entitled to an offer, you'll receive an offer notice by post. But I'm pretty sure none of you will have the patience to wait for the postman. You'll all be online from 6 AM trying to log in and put loads of pressure on the CAO server by all logging in together. I think we had over 40,000, about half of applicants anyway, had logged into their account within the first hour and a half this year to check if they received an offer. But obviously there was another half of applicants who were cooler customers who just decided to stay in bed, because the offer's not going to disappear if you don't check it at 6 AM. It will be there for a week at least. You'll receive the offer notice in the post. You'll also receive an email. We don't send the email out at 6 in the morning. Send it out a little bit later. We don't want to disturb you all, wake you all up in the middle of the morning with your offer. I suppose it's good news, but and you'll also receive a text message later in the morning too. So plenty of ways to find out if you've received an offer. You can accept your offer online. The majority do. In the first hour this year, we had 10,000 acceptances. But that doesn't mean to say you have to do that straight away. They're just people who were really sure. They probably got their first preference course or something like that. There can be no delay at the offer stage. There's a reply date on the offer notice, and if you haven't accepted your offer by that date, your offer is cancelled and your place is offered to the next person on the waiting list. But in saying that, you can take a couple of days to mull over it if you're not fully decided, or you can accept straight away, whichever you prefer. Bear in mind when you receive an offer, this may be the only offer that you receive, so consider it carefully. You can accept that offer. It's not going to prevent you from receiving an offer of a higher preference course in a later round if you're deemed eligible. So remember that one, it's important. My advice would be to accept that offer. You may not receive another offer. If you decide down the line that that's not really the course for you, you can always just let the admissions office know, okay? So we're going to look at the level 8 course list to see how places are allocated, but exactly the same process applies for the level 7-6 list. And hopefully you'll see the importance of placing your courses in genuine order of preference. So the exam results are released in August. They're entered into the CAO computer. We check each applicant's results, and for each course that an applicant has applied for, we'll check to see if you have met the minimum entry requirements. So remember I said to you that if you don't meet the minimum entry requirements for a course, the point score that we calculate for that course will be 0. If you meet the minimum entry requirements for the course, your points are calculated and you're put on a list in order of academic merit. And what this means is you're put on a waiting list basically based on your points. So the person with the highest points goes to the top of the list, second highest in second place, and so on right the way down. So let's say we have a course, Arts in NUI Galway. There are 300 eligible applicants. They've all met minimum entry requirements. They're all put on an order of merit list or a waiting list based on their points. The institution then comes along and they say to CAO, make 150 offers on that course. So the top 150 people on the course will receive an offer, and then everybody else below that is on a waiting list. They're holding out for maybe round 2 or a later round. They're hoping that more places will become available. When you see points calculated for a course, so you see round 1 points, so maybe you might see Arts is 350 points, that means that the last person to be offered a place in that course in round 1 receives 350 points. So that means that there could be, you said 150 people were on that course. The person at the top of the list may have had 600 points, and it's the cut-off point of the last person to receive an offer in that round. That's the points that you see advertised. If some applicants decline to accept their offer, their places are made available in round 2. So let's say Arts in NUIG, I'm showing my age there. Arts in NUIG, maybe 30 people didn't accept their offer. So those 30 places are now given out in round 2 to the next 30 people on the waiting list. So people from 150 down to 180 will receive an offer, and so on until all of the places have been filled. We actually issue offers until the middle of October, but the majority do go out in round 1 and round 2. But in saying that, there are some places released every week. Okay, so we're going to follow the progress of the girl in the red jumper as an example, and kind of to show you the importance of order of preference. So these are all applicants for Arts in UCC. The results haven't been released yet, so they're in no particular order. The results have been released. The minimum entry requirements are checked for each applicant. Their points are calculated, and they're all placed on the list in order of merit. We see our applicant. She's in 4th place for her first preference course, CK 101. She's in 3rd place for her second preference, DN 201, and she's in 1st place for her 3rd preference course, AL 850. We can now forget about her 4th preference and lower, because she's in 1st place on the waiting list for her 3rd preference course. The institutions come along to CAO and then they tell us how many places to offer. Now, these are small numbers here just for the example, but there'd be much greater numbers for most of the courses in real life. For CK 101, they're only offering 2 places, and our applicant was in 4th place on the waiting list. So unfortunately, she's not getting an offer in that first round. DN 201, her second preference course, she's in 3rd place on the waiting list, and they instruct us to make 4 offers. So she's going to receive an offer of her second preference course. So now we only have 2 courses in play on her list. Her second preference course, which she has received an offer for, and her first preference course, which she's on the waiting list for. She now has to decide what to do. Should she accept her second preference course? She probably rings CAO, like many people do around the state, and she wonders if she accepts her second preference course, does this mean she won't get her first in a later round if the points drop, say? No, she should accept her second preference course, and she may still receive an offer of her first preference in a later round, and then she can just decide between them. Okay, so that's an important one to remember. Round 2 offers are issued. The institution asked CAO, UCC asked CAO to make one more offer on that course. She was in 2nd place in the waiting list, so unfortunately she doesn't get an offer in round 2. However, in round 3, 2 people didn't turn up for registration in UCC. The institution comes back to CAO and they say, make 2 more offers on that course. Our applicant was top of the waiting list, so she now has an offer on her first preference course. Now she's a bit of a dilemma because she's already accepted her second preference course. She may well have started in her second preference course, but she's entitled to accept her first preference at this stage, which will automatically cancel her previous acceptance. Or if the offer comes out a little bit later in the year and she has missed a good deal of time on that course, she may have to have a chat to the admissions office of the institution to see, can she start or should she defer for a year? Or she might decide, no, do you know what, I'm really happy with my second preference course, and she'll study on that. So that should hopefully show you the importance of placing your courses in genuine order of preference. We're getting close to 2, but I've only about 3 minutes left, so if you can all stay in your seats, that'd be great. Common queries, I covered the first 2 already, but I have the points. Why didn't I receive an offer? This is a common one, and could be a number of things, but it may be that you didn't have the minimum entry requirements, that we didn't have some piece of information that we needed in order to assess your account. Maybe you didn't inform us of your exemption, and so on. So these are a couple of reasons why you might not have received an offer. If you haven't received an offer, what are your options? Please remember in August that you have so many options. You're only 17, 18. There are so many different avenues into the areas that you're interested in. If you didn't receive an offer in round 1, you may receive an offer in a later round. You can also apply for available places. You can look at the wide variety of further education courses that are available and offer excellent qualifications in their own right, but they also offer you the opportunity, the majority of them offer the opportunity to progress to 3rd level. Apprenticeship programs, studying abroad, taking a year out, or even indeed resitting the leaving certificate. So plenty of options, and please remember that, okay? When you're communicating with CAO, as I said earlier, email us, put your application number, it'll all be recorded on your account and we'll get back to you within 1 day. Don't sit trying to get through on the phone, stressing yourselves out. We will get back to you, and that's the best way to contact us. Posting something to CAO, then make sure to get that certificate of postage just as your proof that you've sent something to us. Useful resources, your number 1 is the handbook. Hold on to it for dear life because you'll need it all throughout the year. You'll need it right up until even September next year, so keep that safe. Loads of resources on the website. The applicant news section will provide regular updates for you throughout the year, so keep an eye on that. You just click on the banner on the homepage. The important dates section, student resources. So if you can all have a look, the menu bar to the left, where the pointer is, student resources in blue writing there. This is where you can do a dummy application. You can do an online demo application. That'll be available from the 4th of November. You can practice as many times as you like, and it's an exact replica of the application form, so that's really helpful. You can fill out here and there forms on that also. Short video guides, 3-minute video guides for various intervals will really help you out throughout the year. Checklists, copy of the handbook, and so on. Points calculator, we'll also have that there from the 4th of November. CAO handbook, if you misplace yours, if you don't hold on to yours. I found mine recently. That was quite an old one, probably from before any of you were even born. But anyway, I really held on to that, took that bit of advice in, so keep it safe until September. And there we have it. Thanks for your attention and good luck with your exams and your application.